Look, I grew up in Eastern Europe, which means I played a lot of cheap, low-budget and very janky games. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Shooters, racers, more shooters. Yeah, that genre was really popular. Back in the early 2000s, money was tight for most people, so we basically absorbed everything we could get our hands on. I'm pretty sure my dad was happier to spend $10 on Terrorist Takedown 2 than 50 on Call of Duty 4. Back then, I didn't even have a name for these kind of games, but now I do. JANKS. Eurojanks from all over Europe, Slavjanks from Russia or Ukraine, Amerijanks obviously from Australia, and even Asiajanks. Yeah, still not sure about that one. When I started revisiting these games, I realized that it's a full-blown iceberg. Some of them are well known, like You Are Empty, but trust me, I've got dozens you've never even heard of. This is the second episode of our descent into the Jank Iceberg, so if you haven't seen the first one, go and watch it. I will wait. Today, we are talking about a forgotten, lesser-known jank called Instinct from 2007. First, let's see who's behind it. If you watched the first episode, you already know who Digital Spray Studios is. You know, that's one of the developers behind You Are Empty. For a long time, I thought Instinct was some sort of sequel to You Are Empty, and that the same people worked on both games. But thanks to a very informative comment from Hone, I found out that's not exactly true. Turns out, Digital Spray basically just provided the game engine for You Are Empty, and not much else. And it's the same story with Instinct. Digital Spray supplied the engine, but the game itself was developed by another company called Newtonic Studio, which apparently is a subdivision of Digital Spray. So yeah, it's like a Spanish soap opera at this point. All you need to know is that You Are Empty and Instinct have almost nothing in common beyond the engine. Everything that made You Are Empty unique, like the story, the concept, the models, the art style, is not there in Instinct. That doesn't necessarily make it bad though, just different. So what I'm trying to say is, don't expect a sequel. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the game. First of all, I have to admit, Instinct's cover looks insanely cool. And yeah, I think you can already tell we are in for some zombie action here. Just like the game's background, the story is, well, extremely convoluted. We've got time jumps, multiple characters, flashbacks, flash forwards, so basically every storytelling trick in the book. But I will do my best to keep it straight, I promise. The game opens with one of the main characters, White, yes, that's his actual name,
Yeah, Mr. White!
sitting in front of the TV and cursing women. Oh man, we've all been there, am I right?
К черту этих баб!
Yeah, okay, let's get this out of the way. There is no English dub. The audio is all in Russian. Apparently, the game was released in the US as well, but I couldn't find that version, unfortunately, so this is all we got. If you know anything about that, please let me know in the comments. I didn't really mind, though. The cutscenes have subtitles anyway, plus there is a journal where we can see all the conversations in English, so it's alright, really. Anyway, back to the story. White has just gone through a messy breakup, wants to get back into his military days, and basically thinks his life is over. Poor guy.
И вся моя жизнь дерьмо!
Now let me just say, I love these comic-style cinematics. The game relies on them heavily, and honestly, I haven't seen cutscenes this stylish since Max Payne. Sometimes the frames are animated, the style is unique, and the audio is spot on. Perfect. Dude, we need more of these in games. The devs must have loved them too, because they give us the option to replay them. Yeah, once was enough. Thanks. After White's little meltdown, we jump straight to a flashback about one of his missions in a North Korean lab in 2004. And this is where most of the story will be set. We are going to see the perspectives of three characters during this operation: Eighth, Arrow, and of course, White. There is also a countdown to the lab exploding, so yeah, thanks for the spoiler, game. In the first section, we play as Eighth, who is basically the team leader. He and White roll up to the base in a truck, break in, and...
Черт! Как будто ждали, суки!
Oh, wow, okay. Thanks for the warm welcome, boys. The first few minutes are all about flipping switches, opening gates, and mowing down a few dozen soldiers so White can push through with the truck. I mean, come on, dude, this is a pretty strong start. We get minigun sections, epic music, exploding barrels, more exploding barrels. What was that? That's when I realized, even though this game has nothing to do with URMT's universe, they did keep the walking speed. Amazing. Snail time is back. Okay, you know what? I take it back. Having to read the journal to keep track of what's going on is a bit annoying. I really need the US version. We get a few more epic minigun moments. Maybe the music is a little too banging for this speed. I didn't mention, but our starting weapon is this lovely G36, and honestly, it's great. Weapon models and animations are surprisingly solid in Instinct, but you will see more later on. The AK, on the other hand, has a ridiculous recoil. Man, I have some serious CS 1.6 PTSD. Next up, we get a flashback inside the flashback. Yeah, I told you the plot was complex. This one is about a briefing. The general explains the North Korean mission to White and 8th, and also introduces Irina, aka Arrow, who will be joining the team to hack the systems. Back to the mission. We split up from White, and hold on, I think 8th might have smoked something to calm his nerves. You can do it, man. You just cannot do an MLG joke in 2025. Stop, please.
Smoke weed every day.
And this is where Instinct completely changes up the atmosphere. Just listen. Okay, yeah, that's creepy enough, thank you. And here comes the zombies. Oh boy, that was fast. Not sure where they came from yet, but I'm guessing it's the usual virus situation. Luckily though, they are not super tough. Some are faster, some have shotguns, no, I'm not kidding, and some are just stylish. But let me tell you, the deadliest enemy is still full damage. 70 damage for that? Come on. We accidentally release some kind of gas that starts killing us slowly, so we've gotta hurry. After blasting through a few dozen zombies and some fantastic environments, seriously, say what you want, but Digital Spray's engine nails creepy industrial vibes perfectly. We finally shut the gas off and meet up with White again. He even saves our life. Okay, thanks, dude, I guess. Then we get separated again, unfortunately. Our goal is to meet Arrow and kill the power. In the meantime, White is going to clear the western section of the base. And here we go. There is no Slavjank without giant rats trying to kill you. This next section actually gave me some big Half-Life vibes. Rusty, grimy corridors, vent crawling, and yeah, zombies, obviously. You know, Half-Life had some of those too, I think. Man, this game has to chill with the soundtrack. I'm literally bopping my head here. Also, I found an Easter egg too. I'm guessing these are the devs? I'm not sure, but I love it. We finally meet up with Arrow and she turns off the ventilation for us. Oh, that's cool, thanks. Some more vent crawling, more creepy industrial areas, and... I will stay on this side of the door if that's okay. Honestly, I was ready to roast the enemy AI for being dumb. But then I realized, these guys are zombies. They shouldn't be smart, right? So maybe this is intentional? Although, this one sounds like he needs the toilet, like right now. We finally reach the generator room, kill the power, and White walks out of the elevator. Wait, is he a zombie now? What the hell? I have no idea, because the next chapter jumps to Arrow. Thanks for the cliffhanger, game. After a 10-minute long cutscene, I'm not joking, this one actually takes forever, we are back at the start of the game, watching Arrow jump out of the truck. She decides to take an alternate route through the mountains. At first, I thought I was gonna love this chapter, because it starts with one of my favorite guns, the VSK. Once again, the model and animations are perfect, and right away I got into some sort of sniper battle. Whoa, okay, I lost. Unfortunately, this section ends up being kind of boring. The environment looks cool, I will give it that, but it's super empty with barely any enemies. And for some reason, there is no music or ambience, just silence. Not sure why, because the first chapter had a crazy good soundtrack. Anyway, I didn't know which way to go. Had to deal with some mortar fire. Avoid mines. And just when I thought I was out, they put a mine on the loot. Come on, dude, you just don't do that. Things do pick up a bit after we enter the base and immediately find an M4. Okay, all is forgiven, I'm happy again. Oh, and do you remember this classic CS 1.6 animation? Yeah, these devs definitely played too much Counter-Strike. This is also a good time to mention the physics. They are actually pretty solid. Objects can fall, flip, and explode in weirdly satisfying ways. Okay, maybe not always solid, but still good enough. Soon, we meet up with 8th again, and I have to say I like that the story runs on multiple threads. It's nice seeing him pop up throughout this chapter. Although, are you sure that's how you hold a gun, 8th? As we already saw from his perspective, Arrow shuts down the ventilation and heads toward the vivarium. Oh, new weapon. Holy crap, I love this thing. We finally reach the garden, plant a bomb, but then, sadly, we get overwhelmed. So Irina is RIP. White sees it happen from a nearby window and starts screaming. Oh, so they were in a relationship. That explains a lot. But in the first cutscene he was cursing her? So did they break up? Were they on a break? I just don't know anymore. You know the drill by now. Chapter 3 and we switch to White. Not a lot going on here at first. Just killing zombies, blasting down elite soldiers, and... oh, great, turrets. Plus, some URMT shenanigans. The areas feel pretty similar to the first chapter, so nothing super interesting. Until White finally finds the scientist we've been looking for. Oh, here we go, we finally get some explanation to the zombies and all that. Turns out the professor has been working on a virus for a long time, but now that it's leaked, the whole base is infected, including White, 8th and Arrow. We've all got about 6 hours before we turn into zombies. That's fantastic. But wait, there is an antidote. Plot twist, it's not an antidote. It's actually something called the protovirus, which will make White stronger and let him keep his brains. Okay, that's not bad, I guess. If we make it out alive, the professor's buddy in the US can help create a vaccine, but we only have 24 hours to get there. Yeah, that sounds easy, Doc. Apparently, the Doc works for a guy named Mr. First, who would do anything to get the protovirus. And guess what? He's got an insider helping him. Gee, I wonder who that could be. The professor says the protovirus will make us unstoppable in 2 hours. I want you to remember that word, unstoppable. Then the prof takes the easy way out And we see a flashback of him injecting a test subject with the virus. Can I get some of that virus too, please? Next, we push through a construction site, which looks awesome, by the way, and once again witness Irina's death. Then comes the big reveal. The traitor was 8th all along. He's been working for Mr. First and wants to deliver our blood with the protovirus straight to him. Thankfully, those 2 hours pass and White turns red, pun intended, and he rips 8th apart. From now on, we are officially
Unstoppable.
But what does that mean in gameplay? We can now hold the G36 in one hand, the screen flashes red, and we slowly regenerate HP. Also, we now move at slug speed instead of snail speed, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, not unstoppable at all. We are still extremely fragile, no superpowers, no big gameplay changes, nothing. Honestly, they could have done so much more with this, like high jumps, some kind of power, extra melee attacks, or literally anything. This feels a bit low effort. Anyway, we meet Mr. First face to face, and White doesn't waste time ripping him apart. Then we slap some C4 on their rocket and blow up the entire base. Visually, this section is awesome. The collapsing base, the small earthquakes, the crumbling walls, I loved it. The only problem is that difficulty spikes like crazy. Suddenly, we are fighting a truckload of elite soldiers from every direction. And as I said, White is definitely not unstoppable. The only thing that kept me alive was this exploding crossbow. Man, this gun is a beast. White escapes before the explosion, rips his shirt off, okay, I guess, then refuses to elaborate and disappears. Roll credits. Yeah, interesting ending. I'm still not sure about the timeline, to be honest. In the first cutscene, White wants to go back to his army days after a breakup. I assume that was Irina. That makes sense so far. But then we jump back in time, I think, to the North Korean mission where he is still together with Irina, and at the end he just disappears. So what the heck? Anyway, if you guys managed to make sense of it, please let me know in the comments. And now, the big question, what do I think? Honestly, I jumped into Instinct expecting a super low budget mess that would give me a few laughs and then be forgotten. But it wasn't actually like that. This game is not a disaster at all. For me, the story is easily the best part. Yeah, it's complex and sometimes hard to follow, and trust me, I didn't even show you the whole thing, but it's full of potential. Having 3 playable characters whose stories run on parallel threads is actually a really cool concept. The downside is that we will revisit some of the same locations across different chapters, which can feel a bit repetitive. And since the whole game takes around 2.5 hours, it kind of feels like they reused areas to save some time on level design. Visually, Instinct is decent, especially for a low-budget game from 2007. The weapon models and animations look fantastic, the comic book style cutscenes are genuinely lovely, and the environments nail that creepy, grimy vibe that I love so much. The soundtrack is absolutely out of this world. We've got industrial tracks, heavy metal, and just about everything in between. The whole White turns into a zombie thing is where the game drops the ball. It's a great concept, but they barely do anything with it. No new abilities, no special powers, nothing. It just feels like a missed opportunity. Enemy variety is also quite awful. We have 3 zombie types, 2 soldier types, and that's basically it. But given how short the game is, I didn't really care. At the end of the day, Instinct once again feels like an unfinished game. game. It's full of good ideas, interesting concepts, and a surprisingly engaging story, but it's ultimately just another mediocre zombie shooter. It's sad, really. You can see the potential, but somewhere along the way it went downhill. Not sure if it was a budget issue, lack of resources, or something else entirely. If you know more about Instinct or its background, let me know. You guys have already given me so much great info about these games, and I love it. The game is actually back on Steam now for around $2, so I will drop a link in the description. Maybe that version has an English dub. I will have to give it a try. Tell me what you think about Instinct and what you would like to see next in the JANKS series. Trust me, I've got a lot of games lined up, so stick around if you're interested. And if you like this kind of content, please consider dropping a like or subscribing. I would really appreciate it. We also have memberships now if you would like to support the channel even more. And if you do, thank you so much. And don't forget to join our Discord if you want to have a chat or play some games with us. We usually play Viet Cong, but I'm planning to organize some other stuff as well. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!